There is a place that is spoken about only in whispers, a dark area that spawns the beginnings of urban legends, a place where anything can happen and usually does. During the light of day, it hides just outside of view, but when the sun goes down, spirits, creatures of the night, roam free, and things do go bump in the night. It is in every state and every country, and there is no escaping it, no matter how safe you feel behind your locked doors and latched windows. So we invite you to turn down the lights and turn up your radio while we join Dave Schrader and Tim Dennis, your hosts, on a journey into the darkness on the edge of town.
Hello and welcome. You've made it through another week. Congratulations. Here's your reward. It's Beyond the Darkness. I'm your host, Dave Schrader, along with me, Tim Dennis, and this is the best in paranormal talk radio. You ready for another weekend, Tim?
Sure, I'm always ready.
Yeah, I'm out having fun. I'm out at the Shooting Star Casino up in Mahnomen, Minnesota. They still have tickets if you're interested in swinging out and being a part of this. A lot of great paranormal speakers and programs and talks going on. I'll be emceeing the entire weekend. Looking forward to it, having a lot of fun. So I hope to see many of you there. And if I do, come on up, shake my hand, say hi. Let's take pictures. Let's cuddle. Let's make out behind curtains.
Wow.
I don't care. Let's just do it.
So if I come up there, you're going to make out with me?
Hey, Tim, if you can't love the one you want, love the one you're with. Do. No, I'm not going to make out, but I'm going to be there. I'd be happy to hang out with people and let them buy me drinks and try to take advantage of me.
Well, Tiger.
Crazy. All right. So, anywho, what do we got going here? We got supernatural news.
Yes, we do.
We got a little bit of Parashare. How many calls do we have this week, Tim?
I believe we're sitting at about 3 right now.
Three more calls.
We got three more calls.
Pretty consistent. 3 callers a week. Remember, if you want to be a part of the show, call and be a voice from beyond. Our Beyond voicemail is 651-300-4977. That's 651-300-4977. 651-300-4977. Or email me your stories, dave@darknessradio.com. We love to hear your stories. We love to hear you chime in. So please reach out to us and let us know what's going on in your world. Hey, and if you like our show, you're going to love The First Degree on Podcast One. Join Lady Gang's Jack Vanek along with her best friend and TV producer Alexis Linkletter and crime journalist Billy Jensen as they explore the most shocking crimes, mysteries, and cults with people closest to the cases. And who knows? You may be their next guest. Check out The First Degree every Wednesday on Podcast One or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Where are we going to begin today in the world of supernatural news, Mr. Dennis?
We're going to begin with the Area 51 of the paranormal. The Pentagon ran a secret investigation into what we know as an extraordinary ranch out there in Utah, Dave. We're talking about the Skinwalker Ranch, to be exact. It turns out that the Skinwalker Ranch in Utah has been the center of controversy over the years for its strange activity, including alleged UFO sightings, ghosts, and bizarre creatures. Back in December of 2017, Daily Star Online revealed how the U.S. military ran a multi-million-dollar UFO program. The Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, as it was known, had a budget of £22 million or $22 million or 16.5 million pounds allocated to it annually by the Defense Department. But now it has emerged that there was, in fact, a second part to the investigation. The Pentagon's, it's multi-layered, Dave.
I guess so.
The Pentagon's other and larger investigation delved into mysteries far more profound, far more disturbing than alleged alien aircrafts. Jeremy Corbell from Extraordinary Beliefs told Daily Star Online exclusively. Its focus was a living laboratory and paranormal hotspot known as the Skinwalker Ranch. New documents revealed that the BAASS, or Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies, created specifically for the Pentagon contract, conducted research both from Bigelow Aerospace headquarters in North Las Vegas and the infamous Utah Ranch. The investigations by BAASS, That almost sounds like what a sheep would say. Provided new lines of evidence showing that the UFO phenomenon was. You can go ahead and say it if you want.
No, I'm trying to fight the addiction, and you're not helping out.
All right, fine. Was a lot more nuts and bolts machines that interacted with military aircraft, a BASS manager revealed. The phenomena...
BASS. I like big ass, and I cannot lie.
Well, it's BAASS, so there's more than one A to that ass, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, there's more than... Right. It's a double ASS, if you know what I'm saying, yeah.
That's a double big ass is what you're saying.
Double big ass, yeah. The phenomena also involved a whole panoply of diverse activity that included bizarre creatures, poltergeist activity, invisible entities, orbs of light, animal and human injuries, and much, much more. George Knapp has been following the story for more than 2 decades, keeping confidential the information about the government's involvement in Skinwalker Ranch. He deferred breaking the story to the New York Times last year, but was left frustrated after they apparently missed key details. Now, the journalist, alongside director Jeremy Corbell, have released a film surrounding the whole investigation. Jeremy told Daily Star Online exclusively about his experience with the project. Skinwalker Ranch is like a paranormal Disneyland, he went on to say. If it's weird, it happens on or around the ranch. Bizarre events and encounters have plagued the locals in the surrounding, is it Utah Basin for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Sightings include orbs, UFOs, animal mutilations, unknown creatures, poltergeist activity, and many other inexplicable incidents. An exhaustive multidisciplinary scientific study began in 1996, spearheaded by an enigmatic Las Vegas billionaire. A team of PhD-level investigators was deployed to collect evidence and spent more than a decade on the ground interviewing witnesses, searching for explanations, and directly confronting an unknown intelligence. And now Jeremy's film may be able to provide some real insight into what's going on. He added, "My film is packed with evidence. Ultimately, we don't know who or what is responsible for the strange activity at the ranch. The theories that extraterrestrials are on the ranch, or time travelers, or interdimensionals come into play. We simply don't know. No one does. Maybe there is more than one explanation. So that's why I made the film, to open a deeper public conversation about a far more disturbing reality. The U.S. government not only tried to understand UFOs, but was temporarily willing to investigate a much broader spectrum of what we would call the paranormal." This is all quotes from Jeremy. You can check out Jeremy's film, Hunt for the Skinwalker, on iTunes, Amazon, Vimeo, and all pay-per-view formats and platforms. Or you can also check out his website, Extraordinary Beliefs. So there you go.
Hey, nice website. Wow.
Yeah.
Extraordinary Beliefs. We'll have to try to get him on the show. That sounds interesting. It's been a while since we've talked Skinwalker.
Yeah, it has been. And it sounds like they're coming up with more and more stuff. I did listen to the program in which George Knapp was on Coast to Coast AM and actually broke the news that that first bit of news about the U.S. government being on site, and that little bit about the fact that the government believes that there is multifaceted activity going on at that ranch. And
that's pretty remarkable. Yeah, that's a crazy place.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I would love. That's one place I would like to, seriously, if I could check it off, that would be it. If somebody could just get me in there, I will never report on it. I don't have to bring a camera. I just want to see this kind of phenomena, this kind of crazy phenomena, all at one place.
What if you showed up and there was nothing? Would you walk away disappointed?
That's okay. I've been disappointed before.
Yeah.
We've been to some of the quote unquote most haunted places on earth that have had nothing happen.
Sure.
And then I've been in a place that's known to have very little activity, and it was like all hell broke loose. So it's just, I understand things go on, but it would be great to at least check it off the old bucket list.
Very true. Very true. We move on.
And I've been to the Bunny Ranch, right? I've been to the Stardust Ranch.
Yeah.
I might as well make it all the way up to Skinwalker, which sounds more like a place the Bunny Ranch would have been.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you take that connotation to it,
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the Skin Crawler Ranch would be a whole different.
Ew, gross. That doesn't sound good at all. Yeah. All right, where are we off to next?
Another story where it turns out that this story is asking the question: has this legendary monster been found? Mysterious creature spotted 3 times in a month. 3 sightings of the mysterious lake creature known as Canada's Loch Ness Monster, right near the Texas border, Dave. It's amazing. In less than a month, it's been raised the prospect that a legendary beast has finally been discovered. A mysterious sea creature has been spotted 3 times in the last month, swimming in Lake Okanagan, Canada. We'll get letters from Texas, I'm sure. That'll. According to the stunned locals, the beast is suspected to be the legendary lake monster known as Ogopogo, or Canada's Loch Ness Monster. The Ogopogo is said to have a long body with several bumps and the head of a horse. Of course, that'll be busted down with a saddle by some cowboy out there in Texas, I'm sure.
Damn.
Yeah. Indigenous communities in Canada have long told stories and myths about the alleged existence of the animal. However, now locals have caught what they believe to be the Ogopogo on camera multiple times. David Hallbauer was the first to spot the creature, which has set off the frenzy of mysterious activity. While he was out on a local beach, he saw a 5-meter-long dinosaur-like creature emerge from the water. Mr. Hallbauer's cell phone footage of the mysterious object has gone viral and prompted renewed interest in the legend. He said, when you're sitting by the beach on a sunny day, you don't expect to see a dinosaur come out of the water. Well, I do, but nobody else does. I mean, but, then again, I'm on some pretty heavy opioids. Just saying.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. I saw this black form come out of the water, cylindrical, and then roll. I rolled up and down as it went in the water. Another lump of the same thing came up about 5 meters in front of it. Since Mr. Hallbauer's video, 2 more people have described recent encounters with the beast, with new footage emerging as well. One of the sightings was reported from the 22nd floor of a downtown high-rise overlooking the lake. Another was spotted from a balcony in the 4000 block of Lakeshore Road in Kelowna, who recorded... Wasn't Kelowna one of the people on Good Times? Wasn't she she was a neighbor, wasn't she?
Welcome to Obscure References with Tim Dennis. Dennis.
I had a huge crush on Kelowna, yeah.
So wasn't that Fiona?
No, Fiona was the singer who did that one song that you liked.
Yeah.
Fiona Apple.
Who's the one from Good Times?
Willona.
Okay. Yeah.
Who recorded the, what she was going to say, Penny from the Iron. I love Penny. Love me some Penny.
Penny from the Iron.
Yeah, come on, man.
Was that the original Jenny from the Block? It was Penny from the Iron?
No, Penny was Janet Jackson, remember?
I know.
Come on,
That's
man.
what I'm saying. Was she the original Jenny from the Block? Penny from the Iron.
No. All right, now we've just gotten too deep into Good Times.
Yep.
Another was spotted from a balcony.
Can you ever get too deep into Good Times? That's my question.
Never.
Yep.
It's hanging on a chow line. I'm just saying, Good Times. Another was spotted from a balcony in the 4000 block of Lakeshore Road in Kelowna. Thank you for naming that town after her, by the way. Who recorded what appears to be I'm going to get letters. What appears to be the creature's head. Bill Stekiak, that's an unusual name, a local legend hunter who tracks sightings of the Ogopogo, said the recent surge in activity had left him stunned. He claims that the recent influx of reported sightings are the first in a number of years. Mr. Stekiak had his own theory about the monster, claiming that the lake was once open to the ocean. He speculated that a sea creature swam up and became trapped once the waters receded to their current levels. So there you go. That's why Ogopogo is where he is, where he once was, and where he always shall be. There's a little tribute to Bret Hart for you, a little Canadian reference. Just saying.
All right. Where are we off to next?
We've seen the light, Dave. We've seen the light. I don't know.
It's getting all revival up in here.
I know. A retired dentist's revelation after seeing a UFO floating above his, is it Cheltenham home? Cheltenham? What, close enough, right? It's one of those British things. Yeah.
Sure.
A Cheltenham man thought a UFO may have been hovering above his home. John Ripley of Regis Close. I remember when he was on with Kathy Lee. Yeah. In Carlton Kings. decided to take a picture of the spectacular sunset through his living room window about 7:30 p.m. on Friday, September 28th. The 87-year-old is a dentist in Gloucester before his retirement. He took the picture on his phone, of course. Shortly afterwards, a keen photographer printed the picture and realized it appeared to show a large flying saucer in the sky. He said, "I thought, what the hell is this?" Mr. Ripley then walked outside to check if any aliens could be seen outside his house, because why wouldn't they still be there? I half wondered, if not half believed, he said after he had seen that picture. Mr. Ripley, believe it or not, revealed it soon clicked that the shape in the photograph was a reflection of his living room light fitting.
That's awesome.
Well, at least he realized it. He chuckled and said, "It shows how these UFO pictures are believed. The sighting comes just days after a bright white light was reported chased by fighter jets over Gloucestershire." So there you go.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, yeah, at least he was able to figure it out.
Right. At least he knew there.
Mm-hmm. All right. Where are we off to next?
We move on to Hollywood, Dave. We're this.
Da 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 ba da da ba da doo 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 da.
Yeah, that's that's very Carol Channing of you, actually. It was very nice.
Why, thank you very much, Tim.
Yeah,
another obscure reference brought to you by Tim Dennis.
Thank you. I'm on a roll today. It's a roll from 1920, and it's a little crusty and moldy, but I'm on a roll. The Travel Channel is presenting Ghost Adventures Live. I happen to be speaking to a guy who's going to be on that show.
What?
Well, I figured I'd do it before you did. The audience never likes it when you self-promote. I figured I'd promote for you. Yeah. A terrifying 4-hour live investigation is coming your way on the Travel Channel. It's happening on Halloween, by the way. Be afraid, be very afraid. For 10 years, Ghost Adventures has brought chilling ghost investigations into viewers' homes. 10 years already?
Yeah.
Holy cow, we're getting old.
Right.
Creating unforgettable paranormal experiences for those brave enough to watch. In celebration of the scariest night of the year, Travel Channel has lined up a ghostly event to die for. Not literally. You probably want to hold on to your lives. Ghost Adventures Live premieres Wednesday, October 31st, beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. On the one-year anniversary of the museum's opening, the Ghost Adventures team, Zach Baggins, Aaron Goodwin, Jay Wasley, and Billy Tolley, will lock down inside Baggins' Las Vegas Haunted Museum in a special 4-hour live Halloween investigation. It says here it's hosted by special guest Josh Gates of Expedition Unknown. The team will investigate the 33-room historic mansion brimming with hauntings from its own dark past, and that now houses thousands of haunted objects, some so frightening and powerful that they can't even be touched, including Peggy the doll, who is known to cause heart attacks, and the infamous Dybbuk box, believed to be haunted by a malicious spirit. Are they really going to break that thing open?
That's what he's planning on. I'm glad I'm going to be outside.
Oh, dear God.
Safely off-site in the control room.
Oh, thank God you're going to be out there. That's bad news. Sealing themselves inside to face these extreme supernatural forces head-on and using the most advanced technology and equipment, the Ghost Adventures team will push themselves further than they've ever gone before. Over 30 cameras will capture the event live, while host Josh Gates will liaise between the dedicated nerve center and evidence review.
That's me.
You're the dedicated
That's me.
nerve
I'm
center.
The dedicated nerve center.
I hope you pick every nerve they have.
Oh, I'm going to be on everybody's last nerve.
I bet you just go after those nerves. And evidence review area positioned on site in an unprecedented move. Baggins will attempt to open the Dybbuk box. Probably not a good move there, Zach. Quite possibly evoking paranormal mayhem, which is the name of my new band. Anything can happen, and an exorcist and ambulance will be on location just in case, with the help of special guests and experts, including one Dave Schrader.
Woohoo, I know that guy. He owes me money, that son of a bitch.
Does he? I would go collect from him before he gets into this Dybbuk box stuff. That doesn't sound very good. Lady Snake. Who's Lady Snake?
Can't tell you all those answers. You got to look into the show and find out for yourself.
There's a Chris Fleming on board. He has very dreamy eyes. I don't know if you know
he does.
Yeah. Michael and Marty Perry. Hey, we know them.
Yep. More good friends of ours.
And Bill Chappell. We know him too.
Yep. That we do. And our buddy Justin Spurrier, who's been on our show, will be there as well.
Hey, cool.
Yeah.
It's sure to go down as one of the most terrifying nights in paranormal history. Sounds like a action-packed, star-studded one as well. It says here, I'm excited for fans to join us for the special live investigation at my haunted museum, which has its own sinister history. Many dark rituals took place at the house in the 1970s, and the residual effects can still be felt, said Baggins. After 10 years, our passion and enthusiasm for investigating the paranormal is only growing more powerful the more we develop our connections with every spirit and location we visit. So get ready for an unforgettable Halloween and some more incredible new episodes of Ghost Adventures. It says here, through an on-location live video stream, viewers can monitor all of the Ghost Adventures live activity on Travel Channel's Facebook Live platform and comment on any findings in real time using Ghost Adventures Live comments. That's hashtag Ghost Adventures Live. Comments will feed directly to Travel Channel's Social Command Center, monitored by digital host Andrew Gunnarola. Gannett, is that his last name? Yeah. Who will share with Josh Gates. I'm sorry, I don't know you, Andrew. I apologize. Who will share with Josh Gates and the Ghost Adventures Live team. I'll get to know him after the show is over, I'm sure. The frights don't end on Halloween. An all-new season of Ghost Adventures reruns, or rather returns, not reruns, returns on Saturday.
Brand new episodes.
Brand new episodes on Saturday, November 3rd. As a team travels to St. Anthony, Idaho to investigate a former school with a dark history of death. Children were sent to the Idaho State Reform School with the hope of being reformed, but the result was often the opposite. The former girls' dormitory and infirmary were eventually transformed into homes where a family now lives in distress, plagued by an intense unseen force and violent attacks. As the team begins their lockdown, they document unnerving evidence of unexplained activity, disembodied voices, and their own physical attacks. Beginning Saturday, November 3rd and running through December 22nd, fans can enter Travel Channel's Ghost Adventures giveaway each week for the chance to win a weekly prize pack with Ghost Adventures goodies or a gift card. And all weekly entries will be entered into the grand prize drawing for a trip for two to Zach Baggins' Las Vegas Haunted Museum. A code will be revealed Saturday nights during each new Ghost Adventures episode at 9 p.m. Eastern, and viewers can then enter that code online for a chance to win. So there you go. You just have to check out each new Ghost Adventures.
But wait a minute. Wait a minute, Dave and Tim.
What?
You guys said you were going to be aboard the Jericho cruise.
Yeah,
I spent a lot of money to be on the Jericho cruise so I could specifically meet Dave Schroeder.
Yeah.
And now he's not going to be there. He's going to be at Ghost Adventures.
He'll be there.
I'm very disappointed. I never got a chance to meet him. I've been wanting to meet you guys. And now you've canceled doing the Jericho cruise so that he could be on Ghost Adventures. And what are we going to do? Your fans shouldn't have to put up with this nonsense. There's no reason that you should be taking multiple jobs and then blowing off the people that spend good money to come spend time with you.
It's okay. He's going to be there.
Your number one fan, Jenna.
Really? Jenna said that to you? No, Jenna, relax. Dave's going to be there. It's called an airplane. They're these big metal birds with these wings.
Yeah, just to refresh people's minds. Tim and I will be aboard the Jericho cruise.
I wouldn't miss this goddamn thing.
That's right.
Are you kidding me?
Tim and I will be aboard the Jericho cruise.
Yeah.
What'll happen is, on October 30th, we're going to do a UFO summoning session with the passengers, where we're going to call forth UFOs and USOs. So if for some reason the ship breaks down, I still have a ride.
Yeah.
I can fly in a UFO right to Las Vegas.
You're going to do that?
But otherwise, we literally dock on port on Halloween at I think it's 7 in the morning, 7:30. They've guaranteed they're going to push me to the front of the line, past all the real celebrities. They're going to get me off the boat and onto into one of them Ubers, Tim.
You're
Uber.
You're gonna pass up the Bullet Club to get your own flight out of there first?
I'm kind of a big deal. I'm going to be live on Ghost Adventures on Halloween. I don't know if you heard about that, but then they're going to fly me out to Las Vegas
the Bullet Club?
From Miami, Tim. From Miami. And I'm going to be there for that night, and then I'll be live. Check this out. You can see me live on Halloween night, Tim, and then the next day I will be in Green Bay, Wisconsin for the paranormal conference in the North Woods at the North Star Casino in Green Bay. How exciting, man. I get to travel. I get to see the world. I get to meet all of you, and I get to mock Tim.
Why are you going to mock me?
Why not? It's my job. It's like being a big brother. It's kind of written into the contract.
Oh, I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be hanging with the Bullet Club.
Yeah, well, that's right.
I'm going to be hanging with the guys who
sold out. I'll be on TV with Ghost Adventures. Pow!
Yeah, but I'm going to be hanging out with the guys who sold out Sears Center in 32 minutes. I'm just saying.
That's right. Yeah, well, I guess you got that going for you. Where are we off to next, Tim?
What's the weirdest looking doorstop you've ever used? And by the way, Napoleon's penis doesn't count.
Oh, I never used that. I don't know what kind of world you're living in. I don't know. For my doorstops, it's probably just like piles of dirty clothes. I just throw them up against the door, push them over there.
Sometimes when you're in a museum, you just use whatever you use.
Yeah, right. Here's a great, the Golden Nugget Casino.
Yeah.
They got the name because they were propping open a door with a giant gold nugget. They didn't know it was a gold nugget, Tim. They didn't know it was a gold nugget.
Well, this story is kind of like that story, but not really.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A strange-looking doorstop turns out to be an alien surprise worth $100,000, Dave. Yeah.
How much?
$100,000.
Sign me up.
Mm-hmm. The world is a nightmare, and that is not a lyric from a Smashing Pumpkins song. Mm-hmm. This appears especially so at the moment with unnerving reports on the state of anthropogenic climate change. I nailed it! And various geologically induced disasters making headlines. I'm just reading the story. I'm not giving you my opinion. So with that in mind, I thought I'd try to cheer you. Oh, this is written from the point of view of the actual guy who wrote it. Try to cheer you all up, if only for a moment, with a marvelous little tale about meteorites. Here we go. As spotted by a few outlets, including BBC News, Mona Sirbescu, professor of geology at Central Michigan University, was recently brought a curious object by a member of the public. This person had been using a 10-kilogram or 22-pound rock as a doorstop for several decades. He bought it in 1988 after acquiring the farm it was found on in Edmore. It didn't take long for Sirbescu to realize that the doorstop was actually a meteorite, the largest she had ever examined throughout the entirety of her academic career, as it so happens. The previous owner of the farm apparently already knew it was a type of meteorite, as his father saw it crash down from the night sky back in the 1930s. He nevertheless gave it to the new landowner during the sale, seemingly unaware of its potential worth. After examining the space rock alongside the Smithsonian Institution, Dave, I've been drinking a little before the show.
Have another shot.
Yeah, beer and opioids don't go well together. In Washington, D.C., it was revealed that this wasn't a common meteorite either. It had a freakishly high proportion of nickel in it. See,
if you like it, then you better put a nickel in it. And if you like it, then you better put a nickel in it.
Yeah. I do.
Is that how the song goes?
I think so, yeah. This rarity, alongside with its size, because I
think people should start a drinking game. Whenever you and I burst into songs, they have to take shots or refer to our band names.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or say the word phenomena.
Do 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 do.
All right, go on.
That would be 2 shots then. This rarity, along with its size, means that it could be worth around $100,000, and the Smithsonian is keen on being the buyer. The university.
And I would hold out for $101,000.
Exactly.
That's right. Goose 'em, baby. Goose 'em.
Milk that cow for all it's worth. The university reports that a mineral museum in Maine was also thinking of buying it. Well, then you hold out for $105,000, and then you start the bidding more. Yeah. Its value may also increase depending on what John Wasson? You say Wasson, I say Wasson. A professor.
Let's call the whole thing off. Have a shot.
Exactly. A professor emeritus of planetary sciences at the University of California in Los Angeles uncovers. He's currently closely examining its chemical composition, and if it's found to contain decent amounts of even rarer elements, then dollar value is set to rise. Either way, the owner, who is remaining anonymous, wishes to donate 10% of the profits to the Central Michigan University. This story isn't just one of serendipity and some rather lovely sentiments. There's also some curious scientific nuggets buried in the tale that are worth fleshing out a little. Firstly, the fact that this meteorite was found in a field by a non-expert isn't surprising. Debris from space is, in fact, constantly raining down on our silly little planet, perhaps as much as 193 tons per day. So there you go. Go out and find yourself some rich nickel if you can.
Wait, how many tons per day?
193.
And this guy's meteorite is how many pounds?
Let me go back and find out here. It is.
It's like 22 pounds or something.
Yeah, 22. Yeah.
and it's worth $100,000.
Yeah.
I'm done. I quit. Kiss my ass. You can have the radio show. I'm going out meteorite hunting, Tim.
You're going out meteorite hunting?
Oh, there's a bajillion pounds of it laying around.
Yeah.
Why should other suckers be the one to pick it up? I should be cashing in, Tim. Listen, all I need is to pick up roughly 222 pounds, and I'm a majillionaire.
A majillionaire?
A majillionaire.
You learned that in school, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Most of this comes in the form of dust-sized lumps, though. See, you didn't wait for me to read the rest of it.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Okay.
With anything much larger being a rare find, Dave. So you got to wait for me to read the rest of the story. Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe unkiss my ass. I'll take the job back if it's still open.
Yep, it's still here. It's still
all right.
here.
Thank you.
Yeah. This isn't
that a song, "Unkiss My Ass"?
Yeah,
back in the 80s.
Yeah, it was.
That was "Unbreak My Heart," which is kind of the same thing, really.
Kiss my ass.
There's another drink. Have another drink.
Give me back my job. This isn't just because they often burn up as meteors in the atmosphere, but because even if they do land and become meteorites, it's difficult to spot them. They're camouflage, and they bought a chair from Walmart. Often the best place to find meteorites are in vast, unpopulated, undeveloped areas that provide a good color contrast, sandy deserts, and in the middle of colder ones like the plains of Antarctica. So somehow, Dave, I don't think you're going out to find any of these. Meteorites, often black, a dull silver, or perhaps tinged with a little deep green, can be spotted against these backdrops, assuming the sands or ice hadn't subsumed them by the time human meteorite hunters arrive at the scene. Farms, as it happens, work well, too. Chance certainly plays a huge role. Meteorite...
there goes my summer job.
Yeah,
I'll never be able to afford Camp Now.
No, meteorites aren't more or less likely to land in any particular spot, so they are often seen by random people who often don't know their worth. This isn't, after all, the first time a meteorite has been inadvertently co-opted as a doorstop. A similar story occurred back in 2012, this time in Tennessee, Dave. Tennessee, of course.
Tennessee, drink. All right.
There you go. Meteorite experts rely quite heavily on these finds, and sometimes they can prove to be truly revelatory. Oh, my God. I'm just reading ahead here. Such was the case in 2008 when an asteroid exploded in the skies above Sudan's Nubian desert. This sent a handful of meteors down to the sands below, which were found by both collectors and laypersons. One of the Nubian meteorites made headlines recently after it was found to contain diamonds older than the solar system. Oh, that was worth quite a bit, Dave. This indicates...
Do you think it's weird that that rocks that fall from the sky and hammer the earth are called asteroids? And bulbous things that hang from your ass are called hemorrhoids? Shouldn't it be the other way around?
You would think, yeah.
Yeah.
This indicated that it was part of a lost planet-sized object.
Deep thoughts with Dave Schrader.
It's very deep. So deep that it blew my mind. If it would have blew my ass, I would be totally enthralled and wouldn't be reading the story right now. This indicated that it was part of a lost planet-sized object in our cosmic backwater that was obliterated before Earth even existed. The other point worth highlighting here is that this meteorite is is one of several types of spaceborne traveler. They are defined by their geochemistry, which in turns reveals where they originally came from. You have iron meteorites, for example, which contain large quantities of iron formed in the cores of large asteroids, not hemorrhoids, as Dave pointed out. You also get stony meteorites, ones that have been smoking pot since the beginning of time.
Whoa.
I threw that one in. Which, as the name suggests, are rockier than their iron equivalents and contain mainly silicate minerals. They are by far the most commonly found. These stony meteorites can contain glassy inclusions because they've been smoking a long time, named chondrules. These are so-called stony chondrites, indicate that they once experienced short-term, violent, extremely hot events. I bet they did. That produced occasional pockets of melting, perhaps during the earliest days of the solar system. Those without these chondrules, which underwent long-term complex melting within colossal asteroids, moons, and planets like Mars, are also known as chondrites. because nature often operates on a spectrum. You can also get stony iron meteorites, geochemical hybrids with roughly equal parts metal and silicate mineral. There are a handful of oddities that blur or subvert the boundaries somewhat, but those are the basics. According to Serbescu, this new meteorite... Story jumped ahead here. This new meteorite comprised of 88.5% iron and 11.5% nickel. That makes it an iron meteorite, which means it's already fairly rare as it is. However, most iron meteorites have upwards of 90 to 95% iron in them, so the presence of plenty of nickel dramatically increases the meteorite's monetary and scientific value. So who knows, perhaps that hunk of rock you've been using as a paperweight or doorstop all these years will bring you your own bonanza someday. Not like Lauren Green bonanza, but someday too. And if in doubt, you can just go ask a scientist and they'll tell you if you're rich or not. So there you go.
All right. I'm rich in personality. Where are we going next?
To a spooked teen who claims his car is haunted by the ghost of a little boy who drowned and shares a pic and says he can prove it. There you go. 15-year-old Troy Vance is convinced that his Ford pickup truck is haunted after he snapped a photo of a ghostly face staring through the windshield. 15-year-old Troy Vance from New Carlisle, Ohio, shared a photo of his truck, which appears to have a face peering over the dashboard. It looks like a kitty to me. Like a kitty and a weird face. He believes that the supernatural picture captures the spirit of a boy who drowned in 1990. Explaining why he came to snap the shot in the first place, Troy explained that he enjoys taking photographs of sunsets, and evidently there was one right there in his truck. Well, actually, it's over
is that what he has on his dating site?
Yeah, it's in long walks.
Taking Snapchats and snapshots of sunsets.
Yeah. And
long walks off of short piers and a nice cup of chamomile tea while I pet my kitten.
Oh, I bet he does. He pets it real hard.
Mr. Binky Doodles.
The teen said, I decided to take a picture of the truck with the sunrise in the background as I thought it looked really nice. Oh. I zoomed closer in and I saw the ghostly face in the windshield. I crapped myself right down my leg. I'm kidding.
Gross.
No, I'm kidding. Troy said that he noticed the face in a photo that he took of the truck. There's a story around the town that apparently a little boy drowned in the lake in the early 1900s, so I think it could be him. The lake is right behind my truck in the photo, so that could even be where it happened. In a bid to solve the mystery of the ghost boy, he has opened the threshold for more spirits to make themselves known from inside his Ford pickup. In other words, he's open to hitchhikers. Troy has since used a spirit box inside his vehicle to meet his mystic mates. He said, I've seen dark shadows move around and have heard weird growls and whispers in the truck. That wouldn't be the girls he has tied up in there, would it be?
God, I hope not.
No. I think spirits might be attracted to me, he went on to say. That's why I don't know if it's something connected to the truck or if it's just me. I decided to do a spirit box to see if the little boy would talk to me. There was a sudden whiff of ladies' perfume, and I don't know where that smell comes from. Check the box of the truck. When I was doing the investigation, a weird shadow crossed the window, so I gasped. And then I heard something slam into the truck with a loud bang. That was it. That's the story.
That's it. All right. Where are we off to next?
Next, we go on to this story. The strange disorder that makes people smell smells that aren't there.
Ooh, that smell.
Take
a drink.
I just saw Skinnerd on Friday.
Did you?
I did.
How are they?
They're on their last tour. They're looking old. Actually,
they're about 92 years old and only one kind of close relative left, right?
There's only one original member, Gary Rossington. That's it. Otherwise, they're all dead, Dave. They're all dead or retired. I don't mean to laugh about that. But
oh, whatever.
You gotta see them while they're around. Otherwise, you don't see them anymore, right? That's the deal. So I took advantage of it. I went and saw them. Okay, so the strange disorder that makes people smell smells that aren't there. Ooh, that smell. Can't you smell that smell? Have you ever smelled odors that other people can't smell? If you have, you may have experienced phantasmia, the medical name for a smell hallucination. Phantasmia odors are often foul. Well, I know what to blame it on now. Some people smell feces or sewage. Others describe smelling smoke or chemicals. These episodes can be sparked by a loud noise or change in the flow of air entering your nostrils. Spookily, some people seem to have a premonition that they are going to happen. Oh, like they smell the fart before it happens. I get it. The first time they occur, the phantom smell can linger for a few minutes. Thank you, Mexican food. And the episodes may repeat daily, weekly, or monthly for up to a year. You mean to tell me all that foul odor I smelled in our apartment in college was just a phantasmia episode?
Yeah, now you know. See, don't you feel bad for all of the finger pointing?
No. not in the slightest. Since our sense of smell dominates the flavor of food in our mouth, any food consumed during a phantasmic episode, that's the name of my new album, by the way, a phantasmic episode, will be tainted with the properties of the phantom odor. It is easy to see how these symptoms can severely affect a person's quality of life. In extreme cases, it can even induce suicidal thoughts. Oh my gosh. People with phantasmia often also report a closely related condition known as parosmia. This is where an actual smell perceived as something quite different, such as the smell of a rose being perceived as cinnamon, although it is more often perceived as something unpleasant. Both phantasmia and parosmia, which sound like a couple of twins in an urban area, I'm not going to lie, are known as qualitative olfactory disorders in that it is the perceived quality of the odor that has changed. In contrast, quantitative disorder are where the strength of the odor has changed and include conditions such as anosmia. I think they're making words up now. Loss of sense of smell and hyperosmia, enhanced sense of smell to an abnormal level. Quantitative conditions can be measured as an objective standardized test. It is rare for someone to experience phantasmias without some other existing quantitative conditions such as anosmia. And interestingly, phantasmias are often found in the nostril with the least sense of smell. Who gets it, you may ask? And usually, the first phantasmia experience happens between 15 and 30 years of age and appears to affect more females than males. So it's not true that whoever smelt it dealt it. Just saying. It has been found in a number of different patient populations, including those with depression, migraines, epilepsy, and schizophrenia. Rates for phantasmia vary widely from 0.8 to 25%, being much higher for those people with existing olfactory conditions. We don't know what causes phantasmia, but it is thought to originate from either central brain areas, including those that control emotion, or peripheral areas more related to smell function, such as those areas involved in detecting odors. Some people find that administering saline drops to the nose can alleviate the phantasmia, as can drugs used to treat existing neurological conditions such as antidepressants and anti-epileptic medication. Extreme situations and only after extensive medical consultation, some patients have the offending olfactory bulb, we have one for each nostril, removed by surgery. Oof. But this is a very risky procedure and would lead to permanent loss of smell for that nostril. Fortunately, though, phantasmia usually resolves it on its own without the need for treatment. If you start to smell odors that others can't, you might wish to consult your doctor, if only to rule out serious underlying disorders that may disorders that may cause the phantom smell. But just remember that in the vast majority of cases, phantasmia is a harmless condition rather than a sign of a serious underlying condition. There you go.
All right. We are about to wrap it up. I think this is our last story, isn't it?
This is the last one, Dave, and unfortunately maybe the most traumatic.
Uh-oh. Mm-hmm. What's going on, Tim? What in the world of supernatural news is there to report on?
Well, Dave, this one is supernatural, and I don't know if you find it sexy or not. Well, we'll read on and find out. An Irish farmer claims he was sexually assaulted by a leprechaun.
Please repeat that.
An Irish farmer claims he was sexually assaulted by a leprechaun.
I'll be right back. What the? All right, go on.
He was He was sexually
I was
assaulted.
out in my garden, and I bent over to pluck a couple of potatoes, and the next thing I know, the little feller mounted me like a pony at the circus.
He was shagged by a shillelagh, Dave.
Shagged by a shillelagh.
Yeah.
Good grief.
A dairy farmer from Southern Ireland says he was sexually assaulted for 2 days by an extremely short, bearded humanoid, which he says is a leprechaun.
The traveling gnome is out of control, Tim.
Well, he is, yeah. I guess when you get a little bit of fame on those Travelocity commercials, you feel like you can do anything. In an exclusive interview broadcasted this morning on RTE, Angus Brennan from Watergrass Hill near Cork says he was milking his cows on Saturday when he was hit on the head from behind with a shovel or similar tool. The attack knocked him out. When he woke up a few hours later, he had been tied up to a support beam inside his own barn. The 54-year-old farmer says he was repeatedly raped over the next 40 hours by a waist-high midget with a red beard and a cocked hat. I apologize. That is a direct quote. I would never say cocked hat or waist-high midget. I wouldn't, with a red beard. I wouldn't say either one. The quote is, "It wasn't human. It was short, fiendish, and spoken gibberish." Much like one of my ex-girlfriends from college.
Gibberish, you say. Shut up and take it like a man.
According to Mr. Brennan, the leprechaun... Oh, God. You did this to me on purpose.
Yeah, I did.
I'm trying to be a journalist here, Dave. I'm trying to report the facts.
Nobody's got time for the facts. Just read the news story.
According to Mr. Brennan, the leprechaun raped him more than 20 times over the weekend before leaving for some unknown reason.
He was tired. He was done.
Evidently,
he was spent. It was spitting out dust balls at that point.
Evidently, there were more cookies to be made.
God, it is elfin magic.
I don't know. Here's the quote from Mr. Brennan. Oh, God, I can't read this.
Ouch, me ass hurts. Is that the actual quote?
No, it's worse than that.
Oh, God.
I am going to be a professional. I'm going to be a professional. I'm going to be a professional. Here we go.
Okay.
Don't laugh at this.
Okay.
It used me in every way possible over a period of 2 days. And then it left.
You got a real pretty mouth there, little man.
A few hours later, I was finally able to free myself from my bonds and call the police. You poor soul. Do you suppose the knots were too tiny? That's what took him a few hours?
I don't know.
Tiny little knots tied by tiny little hands.
Oh, God.
Do you suppose as he's trying to get out, he's humming Short People by Randy Newman?
No? That's horrible, Tim.
Well,
you took it too far.
I'd be pissed off at that point. I really would. Guard-eye officers and paramedics arrived on the scene within minutes and found Mr. Brennan lying in a pool of his own blood. Oh, that poor man. Why are you laughing? This is not fun. This leprechaun had his way with this man.
And just as cops were about to capture him, they caught this audio. I know. I'll make a giant balloon and float away.
He was transported to the, is it Bon Secours Hospital in Cork? Sure.
Okay.
He had to go to the hospital either way,
Yep.
where doctors observed obvious signs of a violent sexual aggression. Oh, my God.
Sorry. I'm not meaning to laugh about it, but it's a concept that you got bum rushed and Pulp Fiction by a leprechaun.
Gardaí Commissioner Norrin O'Sullivan, that's his name, confirmed that the National Police Force had opened an investigation, but insisted that the investigators were, at the moment, looking for, quote-unquote, human suspects.
Sure they are.
Not a leprechaun. No.
Not a leprechaun, you say?
No.
No?
No.
All right.
It's rather improbable, they said, that the rapist turns out to be a leprechaun, a type of fairy in Irish folklore, usually depicted as little bearded men who partake in mischief.
God, they're clearing that up.
Yeah, they're ruling that one out. Even so, a surprisingly high number of leprechaun sightings and even a few other attacks have have reported over recent years across the United Kingdom and even the United States. You too can be buggered by a leprechaun.
Is that?
In April of 2015, a Welsh man reported being assaulted and robbed by a pair of evil-looking leprechauns armed with knives. And in June of 2012, in Seattle, a man who was found covered in blood outside a bar reported being assaulted by a bunch of leprechauns. In 2006, a leprechaun sighting in Mobile, Alabama, drew large... I'll just say Mobile. They don't know how to pronounce stuff in the South.
Wow.
They
send that email right directly to Tim at Darkness Radio.
They call Louisville Louisville.
Not in Alabama, they don't.
No, in Kentucky. They don't know. They don't know different in the
But you're
South.
talking about Louisville.
How do you pronounce Mobile?
I told you. Mobile, Alabama.
There's no EE in there.
It doesn't need to be. I'm telling you, it's Mobile, Alabama. I have family there.
Yeah, they don't know different in the South. It's Mobile.
Dear Tim Dennis, y'all.
Yeah, y'all.
How dare you not think that we knows how to respond and say them words correct like. Now, blow it out your ass.
Right.
Hoot, hoot. Long live the South.
I'll be sure to send them a train of leprechauns their way.
Wow.
Yeah, down in Alabama, they thought they had a leprechaun and forced police intervention down there. Turns out there were no leprechauns down there. They were just trying to pronounce the name of their city wrong. There you go. That's it. That's that story. That's
wow.
Yeah. This poor man in South Ireland.
I was just wondering if they looked for any kind of DNA and they found,
Lucky Charms,
green clovers and rainbows and new magical unicorn marshmallows.
No, they didn't.
There's something wrong with this world. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we've got your stories to share next on Parashare.
Beyond the darkness.
We're back. Welcome. This is the best in paranormal talk radio, even though you couldn't tell from that last debacle we just went through with leprechaun rape or leprechaun lape. I'm having trouble speaking. I just want people to know I'm not laughing at sexual assault. But the minute you throw in the fact that it was by a leprechaun, all bets go out the window, Tim. I'm sorry. All bets out the window. You start throwing mythical creatures at me, we got problems.
Oh.
Leprechauns, the unicorn giving it to you, then, 40 times. That's a lot of chutzpah for a little fella. That's all I'm going to say.
He is a magical creature, Dave.
Yeah, he is. All right. We've got Parashare now. Stories from you, the listeners. And here's one way that you can share your stories with us. You can call us and be a part of our Voices from Beyond voicemail, 651-300-4977, 651-300-4977, just like this, our first caller.
Hello, Dave. Hello, Tim. This is Scott from Chicago, Illinois. I currently reside right in the Clearing/Garfield Ridge neighborhood, right by Midway Airport. In 2016, January 1st, my now wife and I moved into our house over in the neighborhood. May of 2016, my father had passed away, and just like most people, I was going through a rough time. Now, I've always believed that there was something else out there, having grown up Catholic, but there was never any kind of definitive proof. Just a little bit before that, in September of 15, my wife's aunt passed away unexpectedly from a brain aneurysm. What ended up happening is that in the house there started being some weird knocking sounds, and we have a motion detector light in the kitchen right next to the sink, and it would start flashing that LED blue on and off at random times, mostly at night, for absolutely no reason. Now, we keep the lights off, and there's no moving parts inside the actual kitchen unless we're in there moving something around. but from time to time, us moving around wouldn't do anything. We got to the point where we decided to unplug it, and that's when things got even more interesting. It kept on flashing on and off, on and off. We thought that maybe it was just something wrong with that actual light. We decided to go ahead and change it out, and Lord and behold, it still happened. Going back to the part when my dad died, I started hearing a lot of knocking and tapping on the window and on the front door. I had always wondered, my wife said that she was sensitive to the other side, and, I kind of didn't really believe it, but as time went on, there was more knocking and tapping, and I was just so worried about my dad and if he was okay. She's like, well, start asking questions. And I started asking questions, 1 knock for yes, 2 for no, and I was getting my answers, that he was okay, he was in a better place, and he was just watching over me because he wanted to make sure I was okay. And then I wanted more proof. One time I asked for him to prove that it was him. Do something that only I would be able to remember. And then it started to smell very lemony inside the house. Well, we use all natural cleaners because my wife is highly allergic to many different chemicals that we use in everyday cleaning. It smelled like lemon Mr. Clean in the house, which is exactly what my stepmom used to use when she used to live in the same area right off of Austin and Archer.
Well, Tim, it's not inappropriate behavior by a leprechaun, but I'd say it's a pretty good story.
Yeah. Yep.
Dave and Tim, my mom and her friend often go to thrift stores, flea markets, and rummage sales. One day, my mom's friend bought a box full of unused, various sized, smaller boxes of envelopes. Later, when using one, she got a deep paper cut on her lip, licking one to seal it. The cut on her lip was healing fast, but it was bothering her. As she said, it was itching, and it felt like it might be infected. Later that week, she decided to go to a doctor because there was a bump growing with the pain and making her nerves twitch like it might have gotten seriously infected. The doctor was examining it, pushing it, poking it around the bump, and she thought she might have gotten a paper sliver from the envelope or some food or bacteria that got in there. He said he would have had to make an incision on the bump to get inside to clean it out, then froze that area on her lip. As soon as he made an incision, he got startled and jumped back so far that he hit the wall behind him. I guess he didn't expect to see a baby cockroach crawl out.
Yeah.
He told her to throw out the envelopes because they're probably covered in roach eggs. True story. That's Wendy from Flint area, above the garbage hole known where Mally lives. She says, wow, taking a shot at Mally.
Well, it's a referring to when Mally was on the show. She accidentally called Detroit she didn't mean to call it a garbage area, but she accidentally called Detroit a garbage area. Yeah.
Garbage hole, it says here.
Garbage hole, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cockroaches in the lip. That's not paranormal, but it's terrifying.
That is,
terrifying.
Yeah.
I have a story for you. When we were kids, I was about 14 years old. We were living in the Pacific Islands, Western Samoa, and my great uncle was the head of the state at that time. And we actually lived in Robert Louis Stevenson's, the book author, mentioned his home, and we had a pet dog that wouldn't go past the property line. He would stop every time right at Robert Louis Stevenson's property line and just start barking like crazy. And you could not get that dog to go past that property line. It would not go in the property at all. So I absolutely believe that animals can see something because that dog definitely saw something. And it would not go on his property. And yes, living in Robert Louis Stevenson's home was living there was absolutely amazing. When we were there, it wasn't refurbished yet. This was in the early 1990 to 93. Everything was still in there. His writing desk, I actually got to sit at his writing desk. I'll talk about that and an eerie feeling that the house itself was. I'll talk about an eerie feeling that house itself was one of it had a something was there for sure. I thought this story fell apart quickly. I thought I'd share that with you guys. Have a good night. I'm driving cross country all the time. I tune into you guys every night. Keep me awake as I drive through Oregon.
Right.
Okay.
Thank
you.
Yep.
It's a good story to kick off the beginning there.
You got it.
I don't really know where to begin. I've heard the hosts of Coast to Coast and Beyond the Darkness, and everybody has said that there are no coincidences. While I was very young, about 3 years old, my mother used to ask me questions on occasion. Early in my life, I had a severe phobia of heights. I could not reconcile why that was or how to overcome that. It was not until I began climbing trees that I was able to get past that phobia. My father had been in the Air Force. He had worked for Boeing and had started to get his pilot's license while I was a child. I thought this was the reason for my interest in, enjoyment of, and dreams of flying. When I was in college, I took a course for getting my student's pilot license, enjoying it greatly, but unable to afford it. When flying, I always hoped for a window seat, whether it was over the ocean or a fog bank. I always enjoy the view. I've been using a flight simulator program for entertainment over the last several years, loading various diverse aircraft, flying them, and absolutely loving it. One of my favorite airlines over the years has been United Airlines, which has spun off Boeing. My favorite aircraft has been the Douglas DC-6. And when I saw one advertised online in South Africa, I was profoundly struck by how similar it seemed, but also how much joy I felt looking at the pictures of it, especially from inside. Last week, I began to get mental images of what seemed to be me to be the back, or what seemed to me to be the back of a man wearing an airline captain's uniform. I'll eventually learn how to read, Tim.
Yeah.
The dates that seem to go on along with those images were 1925 and 1955. As I pondered that 30-year span, I was curious why it was only 30 years. I figured 1955 must be the year of death. So I conducted a web search for commercial airline pilot Captain Dies 1955. The number 2 search result was United Airlines Flight 690 or 629 off of Wikipedia. When I clicked on that link, I was stunned by what I had read in the very first paragraph. Keep in mind that I had never, ever in my life heard anything at all about Flight 629 prior to this web search. Now, as Paul Harvey was famously known for, this is the rest of the story. Right. I'm not good at Paul Harvey, Tim. That's all I got. Coinkydink number 1. The date of the tragedy of Flight 629, November 1st, 1955. This year is the 61st anniversary of the tragedy. My birthday is November 1st, 1961. Dun, dun, dun. His 55th birthday. The airline, United Airlines, and yes, this is an older email, folks, so if you're going to do the math, you don't have to send me an email going, he lied because it's 2018. He sent this a few years ago. Just now getting to it. Coincidence number 2, the airline, United Airlines, has been my all-time favorite airline. Coincidence number 3, the aircraft, the Douglas DC-6B, is one of my favorite aircraft. Coincidence number 4, the numerology number of the flight, number 629, is 8. The numerology number of my birth year, 1961, is 8. The number of persons on board was 44. In numerology, it's an 8. Coincidence number 5, flight 629 made it to and from New York City, Chicago, and Denver, all are airports I've never been to. I've been to Portland and Seattle. Both are airports that 629 never made it to. The name of the president of United Airlines at the time was Pat Patterson. My first name, Pat. The bomber's son name was Alan, which is my middle name. I can accept 1 or 2 coincidences as random, but 6? There has to be something else at work here. Now, whether this means that I am the reincarnation of the pilot, the bomber, or one of the passengers, or whether I am being influenced by the spirit of one of these people involved to make sure that the memory of their tragedy is not forgotten, I don't know. And I further don't know how to find out. As myself, I have no memory of hearing about this tragedy growing up. Maybe a past life regressionist could clarify this for me. Anywho, happy Halloween. That's from Patrick from 2 years ago. Almost exactly today. Another coincidence, Tim?
I think not.
I don't either. It just took me this long to get to it. Yeah. Dave, I was working in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and had been staying in the room there for about 5 weeks, going from home to Ohio on weekends. The last leg of the job, which was installing a new DMS PH system for Bell Company there, we had to go to third shift to run power and hookup. One morning, a snowstorm was brewing up And the lead bell tech said, we work through lunch and we can leave at 3 a.m. to get back to our rooms and ride out the storm. So after grabbing an early morning L&K breakfast to go, I hit my room about 4:15 a.m. and ate watching SportsCenter. About 5:30 a.m. I felt really cold. I could see my breath. I got out of bed and I kicked the heater up to high and got back into bed. This is when I saw a ghost walk past the TV and into the bathroom. I leaped from my cozy warm bed and ran outside, snow blowing. Wind was like 20 miles per hour and very cold. It looked like the Thing from that Alien show with Arnold Schwarzenegger, the head hunting alien, kind of watery and see-through. I think the word you're looking for is predator.
Yeah.
The predator, yeah. So I stood outside about a minute or so till the car door shook me out of a WTF. What was that moment? I walked back in the room slow. As I stood at my bed's edge, I heard the shower running, and I at first thought it was the next door. Then I noticed the bathroom door open. I kept it shut most times in motel rooms, always have. As I walk to the bedroom door, I pushed it open and more, and I looked in. At first, I looked at the shower head and noticed no water was coming out. Then, as I looked down, I felt as if I was being watched, too, and I saw him sitting in the tub. Hey, rubber ducky. And then he turned his head more my way and was looking right at me. Oh, my God, I freaked out and ran straight down the stairs and into the office. Nothing but my boxers on. That was it. I stood there trying to tell him there's a ghost in my room. And before I knew it, a blanket was tossed on me and a lady telling me to have a seat in the breakfast room, asking if I liked coffee or hot chocolate. The other lady telling me I'm okay and they will have things moved to a ground level room ASAP. Then there was small talk. I was mind blown. This is a 100% true story. And that comes from Alan Spence. I don't know what's creepier, that you're running around in your boxers or saw a ghost taking a bath.
Yeah.
Hey, Bert. Hi, Dave. Had a hard week driving logging truck in northern British Columbia, Canada. Was in a solid sleep when I woke up with an intense sense of fear in the middle of the night. I felt a huge, very powerful dog or gargoyle kind of creature was standing at the foot of my bed. It scared the crap out of me. I was a very fit and powerful young man back then, about 6'4", 230 pounds, and was not used to this feeling. It took all I had to reach for the light on the nightstand. And as soon as the light came on, it was gone, Tim. Gone. It took a few minutes for the hairs on my neck to relax. Next day, I told a very close friend what had happened. He looked at me for a few seconds and responded, maybe he was there to protect you. I've been thinking on that ever since. It's now around 20 years ago. And I still think on that. Just a thought. Cheers. And that comes from Ren. Thank you, Ren. Cheers to you as well. Hi, Dave and Tim. You guys read one of my stories before on Parashare. Thanks for that. It was awesome. But I have a new story, which I'm reluctant to share. See, something happened to me about 15 years ago. And if I'm right, I may have actually shifted realities. I've shifted my pants a few times, but never shifted realities.
Oof.
If I'm right, that means this is not my native reality. Back to life, back to reality. Have a drink. Anyway, years ago, I was driving home from the night shift at work. The commute was always 2 hours with 1 hour, both to and from. I was on my way home. The sun was up and I was very sleepy. I would nod off here and there, and while I was driving, which normally forced me to go get out of the car every so often to wake up and keep going. Well, I'm on the final leg of my journey and sitting at the stoplight heading south. I started to nod off again, but it was interrupted by the strange tingling in my body. My whole body went into full goosebump mode, which stirred me and pushed away any more thoughts of sleep. I looked at the light, which is still red. I looked to my left to see that the cars in the westbound lanes were slowly making their way until to make a turn. My light finally turns green. I start to go. I'm in my old Camaro, which gains speed pretty quickly, when I see a last-minute blue car blow through the westbound lane. This is where it gets hazy. My body is now vibrating, but I hit that car. I know I did. I hit it on the passenger side near the front. I could see the car's crunch, and I felt the airbag deploy As it did, I could feel a bone in my face break. I was terrified. And then I just sort of blacked out. It was a weird moment. I closed my eyes, and all the while my body just suddenly stopped. No more goosebumps or anything. I didn't sense anything. But I do remember the distinct feeling of trying to push through something that almost felt like cotton, but much more wispy. And then I opened my eyes to see that I'm now in the middle of a traffic light passing through. I looked to my left to see that same blue car patiently waiting like the other vehicles. I stopped in a nearby parking lot and checked my car. Nothing, no damage to the car or me. I drove home after this, shaking and totally bewildered. That's my story. I don't know what to make of it, but I've never shared it with anyone. My family doesn't even know. But if I did change realities, are these people still my family? All my best, Chris from Alamogordo. No, Chris, they're not.
Nope.
They're not your family.
They're Skynet.
Get out of the house. Chris, get out. Hey, Darkness Dave and Tim.
Hi.
Hey, that's us. I've had some interesting experiences over the years. Growing up, my grandmother, who had a Southern Christian faith from South Carolina, always told me about people in her family that had ESP, Tim.
Oh,
I love that channel. I love watching Sports Center and ESP, extrasensory perception. Sorry.
Boxing.
It wasn't until after I had my first experience with ESP that I believed her. When I was about 7 years old, while packing up my grandmother's house, I opened the cabinets under the sink where I saw a bottle of lighter fluid. When I set my eyes on the lighter fluid, it was as if time had stopped. And while I'm sure I only looked at it for a few seconds, it felt like hours had passed. While time seemed frozen, I started to get a feeling as if something bad was going to happen. I wasn't sure what would happen at the time. It was several hours later that my intoxicated uncle had showed up and was upset that my grandmother was moving because she always enabled his bad habits. As I was sitting at the kitchen table, my mother and my uncle started arguing. That's when my uncle, with a lit cigarette in his mouth, reached under the sink for the bottle of lighter fluid and started splashing it on the window curtains. My mother told me to run out of the house and wait outside. Luckily, my uncle left shortly after that, with the house still intact. While I was outside, worried about my family, I realized I was right about the lighter fluid. I only wish I'd moved the bottle. Maybe this was just instinct and not ESP, but it has stuck with me over the years as something special. It was 11 years later, at 18 years old, when I had another odd experience with a dream that predicted the future. I'm not sure when I had the dream, only that it was about 12 months or more before the events unfolded. In my dream, I remember waking up out of a building with a sad feeling, or walking out of a building with a sad feeling, walking with two other people that I didn't recognize. As we exited the building, we walked into a parking garage. We continued walking down to a vehicle and stopped for a moment. Then me and one of the other people continued walking down the parking garage. Sometime in about April 2012, my boyfriend of 3 months was involved in a propane tank explosion and suffered burns on the upper body. It wasn't until I was walking out of the hospital with my youth group leader from church and my cousin who was there with the accident when the accident occurred that I was hit with a total deja vu. I instantly remembered my dream, and it started to make my dream clearer. We walked to the exact same parking spot in my dream, and I stopped to talk with my youth leader. Then my cousin and I walked down the parking garage to my truck where I had unknowingly parked in the same spot I had in my dream. When I got into the truck with my cousin, and I told him what had just happened and that I had a dream that predicted the future, he didn't seem as shocked as I was. But it was an emotional day. Since then, this has happened more and more frequently. With new jobs and other small things, perhaps it's just deja vu, and why would I remember dreams that match perfectly? As much as things like this have happened to me, I'm starting to believe my grandmother's ESP theory. I try and pay more attention to my dreams now and take them into consideration. I've tried keeping a dream journal, but it can be hard to remember to write them down. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. If you share my story on the air, please send me an email to let me know so I can catch up the podcast. I'm a mid-Missourier, and I listen to your podcast before I fall asleep and on the way back to work. Keep up the good work, and thank you for your awesome show. Sincerely, Jessica. Jessica, you better be listening to the show if you want us to read your story. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to email you. What do I look like, Mr. McFeely? Speedy delivery? I think it's a cool story. I definitely think it might have been ESP. Thank you for sharing it with us. Do we have any other calls, Tim? One more, I think?
One more, I believe, yes.
All right, well, let's go to that call right now.
Hello, Dave and Tim. I hope both are doing well. This is calling to just apologize, really. I really do need to. This is Earl from Eastern Kentucky. I aired out my personal business on the recording last time, and I didn't mean to do that. It was not intentional. By any means, it's just my wife just got a little mad at me, still mad at me. I trying to prove to you them fancy girls was a number off from yours. But anyway, I got to thinking. I've been sort of in the doghouse here for a bit. I thought, I do need to contribute a story instead of just complaining and moaning and groaning. And you got to realize things are a little slow here in Eastern Kentucky. It's we don't get Monday night football till Friday kind of thing. So just got to bear with me. Well, my great grandmother, she was her name was Oma, O-M-A, and a little girl, they had to travel by foot or by horse, trails and things that go from here and there. And she told me a story. Her and her sister May swear to this. There was a small draw, that's like a little creek, that was separating their property from their neighbors. And they never crossed it late at night. Her mother always warned her never to go in there late at night. I guess, looking back, that's something that, you all talked about this too. Legends and things will grow from people trying to warn people doing things, getting hurt, things like that. But my great-grandmother swears to this, that one night her and her sister decided that they would go through the draw to get to their house. It was quicker. It was getting dark and they were out by themselves. They were in their early teens. And they passed through the little brook, and when they did, she swears to me that they saw a man walking on the trail, had a stick. He was walking with a stick, hunched over a little bit, had a leg jacket on. He had to pull up over his head just a little bit like a cloak. Not really a cloak, but a hooded type thing, almost like you'd wear in wet weather. And they said they got closer to him, he started to move, and as they walked, they were walking in the opposite direction where he was going, but yet every time they turned around, he was like closer to them, but looking like he was walking in the opposite direction. And my grandmother got closer to the top of this little draw, and she looked back again, and when they did, they saw the man, except this time, the man was hunched on top of a post, said that he was sitting there almost like a gargoyle was set, in a state like a springing position, like you're going to jump on someone. Said and swore to me, and she didn't lie, that the man had hooves for feet. She could see it clearly. And his eyes looked like that of a goat's eyes, slanted to the side, diagonal. Said her and her sister ran. They screamed. She never forgot this sight. I wouldn't forget. And it's a terrifying thing to think about. These mountains have a lot of deep history. The Shawnee, and they would not come here to hunt except in certain times of the year. They called this place in Central Appalachia the land of the giants. And you know what they'd said about the giants in Native American culture. They were red-headed, 6 fingers, extra teeth, all these other things. This all ties into some of my theories with the Nephilim, which then also ties into some of my theories with the Bigfoot. But that's all a whole different show, and I guess I'll just need to hush and let someone else come over. But I do appreciate you letting me jump on here. And before I go, I just want to say, since we're goat-minded, what do you call an unemployed goat? That would be a Billy Idol. What do you call a goat at sea? That's Billy Ocean. What do you call a goat that lip syncs? That's Billy Vanilli. Okay, that's enough. Well, thanks so much for taking my call again. I'm sorry I aired out my bad business on your show, and try to keep that at a minimum as long as we move forward. So thank you again for playing my recordings. Earl from Eastern Kentucky. Carry on.
Pretty good stuff. Thanks. And keep up the calls. 651-300-4977. 651-300-4977. You can leave us your paranormal encounter. They're about 3-minute long recordings, and leave those messages for us. If the story goes over, just call right back, pick up where you left off. Tim will edit the pieces together for a slightly longer story. This took me 4 minutes to read. That's what Hannah tells us about this next story. Hey there, Darkness Dave and Tenebrific Tim. What does tenebrific mean?
I don't know.
I recently graduated from Michigan State University, and I lived in a haunted sorority house on my senior year. I've always believed in the paranormal, and I think that's why my experiences in the house were so much more prominent than any other girl. The house had 12 bedrooms, and there were deadbolts on all of the bedroom doors. It definitely made each of us feel safe. It also validated that what went on in my room couldn't have been any of the other girls. No one could have come in from a window either. I lived on the second floor. I lived upstairs from you. Yes, I think you've seen me before. It's a little Luca for you, Tim, and that means somebody's got a drink again. Cha-ching! The mischief started out small. A pair of my earrings would go missing, or one of my books wouldn't be where I left it the night before. From there, everything slowly escalated. One day I came home from class, and my fan was pressed up against my door. I had to push hard to get the door to open because the fan legs were caught on my rug. I definitely didn't leave the fan against my door. It wouldn't even be physically possible to do so. Once I got in, I saw that all my shoes were in a pile on my bed. All my dresser drawers were open, and my small TV was turned around facing the wall. That was nothing compared to what happened later that night. I cleaned up my bedroom and went downstairs to the living room. It's very large, has multiple couches and chairs, and a fireplace. There were no overhead lights, just a few lamps, so I turned on the one next to me. After I got settled on the couches with a blanket and my laptop to work on a paper, I noticed that I could hear scratching. My head started pounding, and I looked around, stood up, and held my breath so I could hear. It was coming from inside the fireplace. I tried to think rationally. Maybe it was a raccoon or a possum. I decided that I would call our house managers to go look into it, and they said that they would be over in an hour or so. I sat back down and got comfortable. The scratches continued and slowly turned into more of a tapping noise. Then it stopped. A few minutes later, my blanket started sliding off me. I thought that it must have been slipping down. It was a down comforter and pretty heavy, so I pulled it back up. Within a few seconds, it was sliding down again, and when I pulled it up, it felt like something was pulling back. I panicked and let go. The blanket flew off me and onto the floor. I don't think I've screamed so loud in my life. I kept thinking someone would hear me and come to my rescue. I was frozen with fear. It didn't take long for me to figure out that I was the only one in the house. I grabbed my blanket and looked back at the fireplace. There was a dark shadow man that was more of a mist. I shouted, "Go away! You're not welcome here!" And like a swarm of bees, it collapsed and sort of poured itself up the fireplace. The house manager showed up a little later and said that there was nothing in the fireplace. I didn't tell them what happened. I never saw it again, and I never went into that living room alone. But 3 other girls told me that they heard scratching in the fireplace too and called the house managers. Apparently, we all called within the same week, and they thought we were just pulling a prank on them. Needless to say, I was elated to graduate and move out that spring. No more misty shadows for me. I'm a big fan of your show, and I appreciate being able to listen to it while I'm at work. Sincerely, a grown-up sorority girl. Well, thank you, grown-up sorority girl. Hi, Dave and Tim. Last night I had a dream where I had been given my neighbor a ride across town. Upon returning, there were cars in front of my house, so I circled around the back. When I got back to my house, there was snow suddenly on the ground. My son standing in the driveway, he exclaimed, "Dad!" "Yeah? You've been gone for 3 months." "No, I haven't. I've just been gone for a few minutes." "No, it's been 3 months. Mom started drinking beer." I went inside and said, "Honey, I'm home." My wife was sitting on the couch drinking. She got up with a "you son of a bitch" look on her face. I was trying to tell her I'd only been gone for a few minutes. I woke up and was telling her about my dream. As she was getting ready for work, she gave me a "that's crazy, but I don't have time to discuss it right now" look as she drove away. I was standing on the lawn when you looked up. This is Darkness Dave's lawnmower. Darkness Dave is off to his job on the radio. So I put your lawnmower away. A Japanese woman lowered a small drawbridge that led into a maze-like section behind the houses. I went inside of an old school, wandering down the hallways. I'm raising my granddaughter, who's 9 months now. In the dream, she was a toddler. She and another toddler were following along after me down the halls, and then I woke up. Well, tonight, I just woke up from a dream where I had a big house that was an old school. I was moving into that area and had a wall of shelves and a wall of cupboards for all my stuff, art supplies and comics and collectibles. I was giving rooms to my sister and a friend who was like a sister to me. They shared a common kitchen area. We were sitting down to Thanksgiving dinner with my father and mother and stepfather, both who are now deceased. I called my stepfather grandfather before finding the words dad. I explained that I was a grandfather father to my granddaughter. I hugged him and was crying as I told him that I wished I had appreciated him more when he was younger and had learned leather and woodworking from him. I just woke up and wanted to get all of this written down. The first thing I did was write my friend Laura, who was in the dream. Anyway, I hope this doesn't mean that I'm going to be to that big school for that big Thanksgiving dinner in the sky in 3 months. Maybe check on me in January. Thanks. Keep up the good work. And that's from Don in Tennessee. Tennessee? Well, the paranormal part of that dream is that Darkness Dave has a lawnmower. I don't mow lawns, Tim. That's what I have a wife for. There's snakes outside, Tim. What? There's snakes outside. Seriously, we have an overwhelming amount of snakes in our yard, so she does mow the lawn.
Huh.
Yeah.
Really?
She's like, you just stay inside, you ninny. Yeah. But I do cooking and cleaning, so I think it all works out pretty well. Mm-hmm. Hi, Dave and Tim. We have all heard Ouija board stories and the dangers that surround using them. I have a story that happened to my sister, which almost ended her life. For my sister's 13th birthday, my parents gave her a Ouija board in the beginning. We had so much fun with it. We would take turns asking normal teenage girl questions like, who will I marry? How old will I be when I get married? And how many kids will I have? Although we don't know it at the time, the answers we were given were actually correct. My sister and I shared a bedroom. After getting home from school, I walked into our room only to find my sister playing with the Ouija board by herself. The planchette actually moved with just her fingertips on it. I asked her if she was pushing it. She said she wasn't. I placed my fingers on the planchette with hers, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't control it. Later that week, we decided we were going to play with the Ouija board, but before we had a chance to place our fingers on the planchette, it moved by itself and flew off the board. It hit the wall so hard that it put a small dent in the drywall. I told my sister she needed to get rid of it. A few nights later, I suddenly woke up in the middle of the night. I couldn't explain it, but I felt something wasn't right. I got out of bed and started walking down the hallway towards the bathroom. I could hear my sister vomiting violently in her bathroom. I knocked on the bathroom door, and she sounded weak. She told me to go away. I woke up my parents to tell them she was very sick. My mother talked her into opening the door and found she had been swallowing pills. My sister was taken to the hospital, and even though I don't know a lot of what happened at the hospital, I do know that her stomach was pumped and a psychologist was assigned to her case. When she got home the next day, I asked her why she did it. She told me she did it because a boy she liked didn't like her back. Years go by, and I'm now the founder of my own paranormal investigative team. I now know the dangers of playing with the Ouija boards, and I recently asked my sister if she remembers playing with it when we were kids. What she told me next made my skin crawl. She told me she remembered it, and it was the reason she tried to commit suicide. She said the board told her to kill herself, but not until she broke it in half. That night, after breaking the board, she tried to commit suicide in the bathroom. Hopefully, this experience may help others addicted to playing with Ouija boards. The dangers are real. Thanks. And that comes from Elaine. And this, Tim, our final email. Dear Dave and Tim, Littleton, North Carolina is a strange town where most of the residents claim to have paranormal activity in their homes, and a few have reported Bigfoot sightings in or near the town. I help with a group that offers haunted tours and investigations. One of the buildings we go in is from the 1700s, and we have a reason to believe a little boy is there. My mom is a sensitive, and she has described the little boy as very rambunctious and even a little bit mean. Recently, we had a family go on the tour and bring their youngest daughter. We passed out EMF detectors before we told the story of significance of the building because typically the meters go off during the story. The daughter suggested that the meters go off because the little boy likes hearing the story. She then began telling him the story of the big bad wolf, and the meters spiked like crazy until she was completely finished. My mom started to cry, saying that the little boy absolutely loved hearing her tell him this story, and it calmed him down. Another haunted building in Littleton is an old theater my mom, myself, and two others were sitting in one night when my mom started to see a man on stage preparing for a show. To put it briefly, she said he'd communicate with us, but we all ended up sitting on the stage knocking the first part of the Shave and Haircut's 2 Bits tune. You know, the old... Right? What was that? Mom said she was trying to knock back, and sure enough, after a few tries, we heard 2 muffled thuds. Creepy. It's like it happened. We told him we could almost hear him, but asked him to try a little louder, and sure enough, we heard it again, but clearer. He told Mom he was happy to put on the show for us, but he wanted to get back to his theatrical show after all. The whole experience was pretty weird for all of us. I love your show. Thanks for reading my story. Annie. Annie, are you okay? Are you okay, Annie? Just curious. Well, that's it for today, kids. We'll be back again tomorrow. We're going to be talking, Tim, with 2 real-life experiencers that are going through a very dark and very chilling story. Keegan and Lexi are going to join us. They are listeners that are seeking help, and we want you guys to tune in and listen to the story. And if you have any insights after the story, feel free to email us. If you think of any way that you might be able to help them, email us. We'll connect you with them. But tomorrow you can hear Keegan and Lexi as they share their encounters with a very dark supernatural haunting. We'll do that right here on the best in paranormal talk radio, plus a brand new theater of the mind. For Tim Dennis, I'm Dave Schrader. This is Beyond the Darkness.